welcome to the Pink Hair Girl podcast. I'm Sally Jane, otherwise known as Pink Hair Girl, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you've watched the podcast before, thanks so much for coming back and watching again. And if this is your first time, it's really wonderful to have you here with me. Today is Sunday, the 13th of July, and it's not too cold here in South Africa today. It's a bit overcast, but the sun has been out a little bit, so it's not too bad. We're surviving the Cape Town winter this time. So our exciting news this week probably has been the addition of the puppy in our to our family. As I said last time, Rachel was maybe going to be getting a little puppy, and she was looking at knitting dog sweaters. Anyway, so we got the little puppy. It's a little Yorkshire Terrier Dachshund cross, miniature Dachshund cross. So it is tiny. It's a really tiny wee thing. So we went and collected him on Friday, I think it was. And so if you follow my Instagram feed or on Facebook or whatever, you will have no doubt been spammed with pictures of this tiny little wee dog. He is terribly sweet. He's very small and very sweet. And so quite a number of you on the group said you were interested in meeting Pippin. So Rachel has him to show you all. Apparently, Rachel, the mother, informs me that it's nearly his nap time. So we have to feature him early in the episode because she's putting him to bed. And he may or may not already have been in a handbag. Yes. Anyway, Rachel, do you want to bring Pippin? So we are very delighted with our new puppy. Are you loving him? Does he keep you awake at night? Yes, does he? Good, so shut that up. Look, so this is our new little Pippin. So he's very sweet and very alert, and I think he's actually a bit cold, but he's got a jersey. He's got a little fleecy. What are you doing? He's got a little fleecy jersey that we've got so far in the extra small size, and he's still sort of drowned in it a little bit. But it's actually starting to get a bit colder now. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's starting to get a bit colder. So Rachel probably actually need to put his jacket or his jersey on now. I can feel him shivering a little bit. So we really are going to have to delve into the world of knitted dog sweaters. But he's so tiny, it shouldn't take that much time to knit him something. Hey, shall we show it to everybody? Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. So he's very sweet. He's very sweet. And he's so tiny on the ground. He's so small that when he's in the house, you have to be careful where you're walking. You just have to make sure you're not going to stand on this tiny little dog, because he can get underfoot quite quickly. But he's terribly sweet and quite a feisty little guy. He's not intimidated by our much bigger dog at all, although we're trying to teach him his place in the pack. Moby gets his food first, and he's not allowed to be cheeky, although he likes to chase Moby's tail and chew on it. As you can see, he's chewing on my hand. I think he's going to need a few chew toys. I'm not quite sure what age puppies teeth from. It feels like having a new baby all over again. I've never had a puppy before. The rescue dogs we've always had have always been a little bit bigger. So anyway, so this one is very tiny and needing to get up in the night and all these things. But he sleeps in Rachel's room, and she's got a little bed for him next to her bed, and she wakes up when he needs to go to the toilet, and he's got a little newspaper potty training pad thing in the bedroom for his night time. Apparently they only learn to be dry or go through the night in another couple of months' time. So anyway, Rachel's waking up with him at night and sorting out all his toileting needs. And yeah, he's very sweet. So this is our latest addition to the family, little Pippin, who we're very excited to have. Okay. You don't look like you're going to go to sleep. Rachel says you're going to sleep now. Are you? No, you just want to chew Mum's head. Rachie? Anyway, I'll give him back to his mother now, and then we can get on with the business of knitting and podcasting. Rach? I think you can have your baby back now.
Good boy.
Have you decided on the pattern that you're going to knit for him yet?
Yes.
What pattern are you going to knit?
Most of them are called dog sweaters, but I'm not sure what the name of it is. It comes round with buttons here and under the chest, so it won't affect his walking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the one we've got at the moment seems to have quite a lot of fabric sort of through the arm section, so he tends to sort of have his arms spread out a little bit when he walks. So he's shivering a bit. I think either put him in his blanket or something.
He's coming to go to bed now.
He's going to bed. Okay. All right. Off you go. So that was the latest edition of Little Pippin. So we're quite delighted to have him. In other very exciting news this week, I won yarn. Like, seriously, I don't win stuff. I don't think I've ever won anything. And I've been doing, as you know, the Heidi Bear's 1 a day challenge, where you crochet. Well, you could actually do anything. In the beginning of the year, she put out the challenge, and you could have done it in any modular. It was just a modular challenge. So basically, the challenge was to make one thing a day. So you could knit a square for a blanket, you could crochet a granny square, you could make the Heidi Bear's motifs to make the, and you know, her animals or whatever it was. The idea was just to try to do one a day, to keep up with doing a bigger project, to kind of motivate you to, that if you break it down into small pieces, then a big project is actually not so difficult. So I joined up, and I'm quite glad I did, because before, you know, you always think, oh, you know, it's going to take so much time, as I've said before, to do these crochet animals. You know, if you just sit down and do that, because it takes me so long. But just doing one a day has been really quick, and it has improved my crocheting abilities quite a lot too. And I'm getting a bit quicker. I'm just not very quick still. So these are the ones that I'm doing. I'm doing the African flower for the, well, mostly the African flower for the modular thing. I did some of the squares that I did for the granny square blanket, which I'll show you later. I did some of my days modules as well. So anyway, the challenge was to keep up with doing one a day, and then you post the photos in her group to say that you're up to date and how many you've done and so on. So she had a 3 months prize for keeping up for 3 months, and then the 6 months prize was now, and I won the 6 month prize, which was $50 of Nurturing Fibers yarn, which I'm absolutely delighted about. So isn't that really exciting? I'm going to tell you a bit later on with things that I'm planning, what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, I thought I would just mention that. So I get a voucher to spend at Nurturing Fibers, which is really exciting. So I'm dead chuffed about that. I'm really, really very, very excited. So those are my sort of 2 big news items for this week, which was very exciting. That, and then I finished my whole 30, so I was really very proud of myself. I didn't cheat. I got all the way through 30 days of clean eating, so I was very chuffed with myself. I have included a couple of things again, but generally I've carried on eating the same way. I haven't actually put milk back in my tea. I've just carried on. I want to try and stay as dairy free as I can. I don't think I'll be quite as strict as on the whole 30. I have had I had a nougat the one night, and I had some coffee in celebration, because I cut out coffee actually before I started the whole 30. And I had some coffee in celebration. I really like coffee actually, and it's something that the geek and I quite like drinking together. But it doesn't go well with female hormones. If you've got any imbalances or problems with female hormones, a lot of places suggest cutting out coffee. So I did a while ago. And occasionally I'll treat myself with some. So of course the night that I'd finished the Whole30, I had a really nice cup of coffee that Emma made for me. And I think we watched football that night actually. Um, and I couldn't sleep that night. I was so used to drinking coffee before, but oh my goodness, not having had it for a good few months and then having this cup of coffee, and it wasn't even that strong, but still I couldn't sleep all night. So I'll really probably be limiting my coffee intake quite a bit. But no, I was really chuffed with myself, and I did lose weight. I didn't weigh myself until afterwards because that was one of the rules. But yeah, that wasn't my main motivation, but I did, and I was quite chuffed about that. Obviously, I want to find some sort of maintenance level of doing things that, although I am putting a few things back in my diet, I don't want to lose too much more weight because that wasn't my sort of goal in the first place. But yes, I was very chuffed with myself, and thank you to everybody who sent encouragement and for the congratulations afterwards. The sock knit along for the group has started after last week's episode aired, and I'm delighted with everybody that's joined in the chatter so far and the socks that are starting to appear on the group. It's really nice to see, and especially for some that have never knitted socks before, it's very nice to see the new socks coming along, which is really fun. I finished my Hermione's Everyday Socks, which I'll show you a bit later, and so I have cast on my new socks for the knit along, but I'll show you that in my works in progress. So the knit along runs until the 17th of September, which is Rachel's birthday, and I've got some really exciting prizes to announce that will go along with the knit along. The one is from Claire Devine, who, when I showed you the giveaway for the sock kit that we had a while ago, the Claire Devine did the sock anatomy book that was part of the prize with all the little baby socks. And very excitingly, Claire has added some adult socks to her collection. 2 of her socks now come in adult sizes, and I think it's the brevis and the tarsus. I will double check that. And they now come in adult sizes, and Claire is planning to release more of them in adult sizes. I think eventually they're going to range, all 9 socks will have 9 sizes, if I understood that correctly. So they will go from baby, and then there will be children's sizes and adult sizes. So that will be really exciting. At the moment, you can still get the Sock Anatomy ebook for the £9. Sorry, £9. I was right the first time. For £9, and that's the 9 baby socks, and it now includes the 2 adult versions, or 2 adult versions of two of the patterns now. And she will be adding more to this. Eventually, I think when the collection is complete with all the adults and children's and etc. patterns in it, it will the price will go up. So but if you get the ebook now, as she changes it, updates it, you get all the patterns. So it's kind of like an introductory offer or a starting offer or whatever. So if you're at all interested in Claire's baby socks and want to knit the adult versions, and as I said in the other episodes, what was so amazing about Claire's book is she literally takes you from beginning to end in socks. And if you've knitted socks, there's always something new to learn. She does a whole lot of different heel and toe techniques that you may not have tried before. And so she does, every pattern comes with a different heel and a different toe. So it really is the kind of A to Z of sock knitting. So I'm really excited that that's now going to be an adult size. And she has donated a couple of those as prizes for the knit along, which I thought was really nice. So I'll be able to give some of those away. And then another prize I have to announce is that Jessie Maybe, who's one of the members of the group, I had a competition earlier in the year. No, I think it was last year already. It must have been last year already. Goodness, time is going quickly. That you could win a design by me. So basically, you entered the competition with a completed one of my patterns, and then I would design something for you based around your story, or using some of the things that you told me, and I would design something for you. And Jessie won that competition, and so I designed a shawl for her called Burst, and it's in very vibrant colors. It's in sort of a tangerine and a lettuce color, I think it was, and a red and an olive color, I think a tomato. So she's a chef, and so we used all these food names in the color, the yarn colors, which also all came together with the fact that she really likes bright colors like orange and lime together. Um, and so I designed this sort of off-center asymmetrical shawl, because Jess can be a bit quirky and a bit different and quite vivacious. So I designed the pattern for her and knitted it, and then sent it to her. She actually got the finished object from me, as well as some beads. Actually, there was a beaded bracelet that I had that really reminded me of the colors that she really enjoyed, and I used that as an inspiration as well. And so that kind of gave it a bit of an African feel to it as well. So Jess very kindly donated some yarn for the Knit Along prize. She's donated Frolicking Feet, which is a 100% merino at 480 yards in the mandarin and lime colorway. I'll insert a picture. Jess is actually going to keep the yarn in America until we know who has won the prize, because it seems a little bit silly to post it here to South Africa in case an American person won the yarn, or even actually sometimes postage easier between America and England. So Jess is going to keep the prize, and it'll get mailed out from America. But thank you so much, Jessie, for donating that. That was very, very kind of you. And it's in such a vibrant, happy colors for knitting socks. So that's really nice. And then I'm going to also include some buttons into the giveaway. I got some beautiful, beautiful buttons from Incomparable Buttons, which is a South African-based company that works with a women empowerment project, employment and an economic empowerment project for women based in their area. So I really like supporting projects like this that help with improving the lives of women in South Africa. And they are absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to try and show you a small selection that I've got here. What have I got? See, these are some little red ones. Dinosaurs for children. They've got so many. They've got so many different buttons and different colors. And they are fully machine washable, and it says giving employment to women in South Africa. So I'll include all the details in the show notes of where you can get hold of them. But I'm going to include some of these. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I'm going to include some of these as prizes. Those are the little owls. They're cats. And even puppies, since we've had Pippin and dog theme on the show at the moment. The little puppies. So many different things. So I'm actually going to include, there's some elephant ones, and there's a really nice, there are a couple that have come off their cards. Titus was playing with them. It was a little African set. It had a little, let me see if I can, which might be quite nice for somebody overseas. So basically, if one of the winners, you'll get to choose a set of buttons to go with your prize. It's a little, sorry, he's come off. There's a little hippo, and then a lion, a elephant, a little giraffe, see him, and a rhino. Those are kind of really sweet African inspired buttons. So these are going to be as part of the prize as well in the knit along. What I thought I would do was that I think there'll be a fastest fingers first prize. So for somebody that knits the first finished items in the finished item thread, I think there'll be a prize for that. and then some finished object prizes as well at the end. And then I think sort of a general participation prize for the chatting thread, because often life gets in the way and some people don't necessarily always finish their finished objects, but they've been chatting and enjoying the actual chatter in the thread. So for everybody that chats along in the thread, there'll also be a prize for the chatter thread as well. So I thought that was fun. It was kind of a way to include people chatting and finished items as well. And of course, our fastest fingers will also get a prize. So I'm really excited about the knit along, and I think it's going really well. And I'm excited to see who our first finished prize, our first finished object is going to be in the finished object thread. I'm hoping to get 2 pairs of socks done. I'm hoping I've got so much other work to do at the moment. I'm really hoping I get 2 pairs done. But yeah, that's my goal for the knit along, is to hopefully get 2 pairs of socks done. I'm going to, the one that I'm doing is actually I think both my patterns are going to be from sort of Pippin, the Edinburgh area, because the next one I'm doing, I think maybe I'll do mine in one of Claire's adult sizes, which would be rather fun. So those are my plans for the knit along. Come and join in if you haven't. There's plenty of time until the 17th of September. And if you have joined in, well, let's get those needles clicking and let's see how many socks we can get into the finished object thread. Remember, any pair of socks counts. In the finished object thread for that prize, it's going to be a completed pair of socks. So do a new post for each pair of socks, because I'm going to do a random number draw of the numbers in the finished objects. So just do a new post per completed item that you have, and it can be baby socks, it can be children's socks, it can be adult socks, anything you like, as long as they are a completed pair of socks. I know some people have tiny feet and some people have much bigger feet like me and have knit much bigger socks, but if you knit a very big pair of socks, maybe knit a baby pair of socks from Claire's book, just to sneak in some extra quicker entries, because of course baby socks are so much quicker to knit than socks for my size feet. So that's our sock knit along, and I'm really excited. There are some people that are very new to sock knitting, and that's always nice to see as well, because it's quite addictive. It doesn't sound like it's going to be, but it really is quite addictive. And of course, once you've worn hand knitted socks, well, that's a whole different story, isn't it? So come and join in if you haven't, and it should be lots of fun. I was speaking about Claire and how she has donated some prizes for the knit along. And the other exciting news, I alluded to it a little bit in the last episode, about some patterns that weren't revealed yet because she was sort of working on something rather secretive, and that I had seen the most amazing fingerless gloves that I'd wanted to knit of hers. Anyway, there has been a reveal, the big reveal of what she's been up to, and let me read you a little bit about what it says. She's done a collaboration called Head to Toe. I'll just show you the, I don't know if you can, it's going to show up on the, anyway, so it's called Head to Toe, and it says, ever wanted to wrap yourself in exquisitely hand-dyed yarn from head to toe? This new collection will allow you to do just that. 4 carefully designed patterns, each featuring a single skein of gorgeous Ginger's hand-dyed yarns, will take you from high summer through to early autumn. Head to Toe is an exclusive collection of our 4 beautiful designs by Claire Devine, in conjunction with the talented Edinburgh-based hand dyer Jessie from Ginger Twist Studios. Released over 4 months from July to October, the collection features stylish knitwear to take you through the seasons. So the first design, which is Montrose, which is a hat, was released on the 7th of July, which was this week, and it's beautiful. It's really lovely. The others, you only get a sneak peek. You only see a little bit of it. It's not a full reveal of what it's going to look like yet. I happen to know what they all look like because Claire and I chat regularly. We are on WhatsApp, and so we spend most of our days chatting to each other about designing, about motherhood, about just being friends, really. So Claire is a South African that left for Edinburgh, and we've just continued our friendship in our phone, really. So Claire's my friend in my phone that keeps me sane and then we bounce ideas off each other about yarn and colors and designs, and if something's working or not working, or how you can improve a design or change something. And we're always very honest with each other if we think something's going to work or not, or what might be better, or a different color, or whatever the case may be. So the designs are beautiful. They really, really are. Simple, elegant, different, really very nice. So she's having a knit along on her group, very relaxed knit along that can go, it's going to go through the time that the patterns are going to be released, and you can knit any, sort of dip in and out and knit any of the patterns any stage. So the hat which has been released is in the knit along at the moment. And then there is a Brunswick, which is a shawl, and that is on the 1st of August. There is an Edina, which is mitts, or Edna, which is the 1st of September, and then an Elgin, which is socks, on the 1st of October. And I also know that Claire chose these names because they are streets on the way from her house to Ginger Twist Studios, which is the shop where the yarn was born. I thought that was really clever. So on her journey towards the yarn shop, she chose the names of the patterns for that, which I thought was really lovely. And there is an ebook, standalone patterns, an ebook, and an actual printed book that you can buy. And there are more details both on Claire's website, which is Yarn and Pointy Sticks, and on her Ravelry group as well. And then also on the Ginger Twist Studios website, there's also more information about all of that. So I'll put links up to that in the show notes. So I can't wait for the mittens to be released because they're beautiful. And I'm hoping that by the time the mitten knit along happens, that my load will be a little bit less, that I can jump in and join. Because the yarn that Claire gave me for my birthday is the same yarn that she used, same base that she used in these mittens. I think it would be perfect to knit those. I'm really excited about that. So yes, that's the news from Claire and her designing. So go and have a look at that. Both her sock anatomy book that's now going to have adult sizes, and her new collection with Ginger Twist Studios. So those are some exciting news from Claire. So go and have a look at what she's up to. So let's go on to my finished objects and what I've been working on. I've only got one finished object, but I think last week I had I turned the heel? I'm going to have to go and look. I can't remember how far I was, but I remember I was on sock 1 anyway. Was I finished sock? Oh geez, I can't remember. I can't remember where I was. Oh, silly me. Anyway, I know I finished another sock. I now have, ta-da, 2 socks. I'm quite proud of myself actually. So my Hermione Everyday socks are finished. Hopefully that'll give you a nice indication of the colour. And I'm really chuffed with them. I knitted the one that I knitted, I actually went a little bit far on the one toe. I was knitting at Rachel's Gala, and I think I did it a little bit too far. And so when I put it on, it fitted, but it was a little bit too long. I could pull a bit of fabric at the toe. There's a bit too much sort of extra fabric, and I think a sock should fit sort of more snugly. So I finished the second one, making it a little bit shorter in the foot and putting the toe on a bit sooner. And then I actually undid the first one's toe and actually just brought it back a little bit as well. So now I have 2 lovely socks. And with that, I have completed what I had planned so far for the Geeky Girls Knits summer knit along. They had a summer knit along because of course it's summer in the northern hemisphere. And so I had planned to do these Hermione's Everyday socks and the Knit Night shawl, which of course I finished and I showed you last week. So I finished both my entries, but I'm actually hoping that if I finish my own socks that I'm working on at the moment for our knit along, then I'll be able to enter them in there as well, because I used the orange yarn for my swap, which I'll show you in a sec, which I think is very summer-like. It's all lovely and orange and gloriously summery. So I think I should, if I finish those in time, I might enter those as well. So those are for my Geeky Girl Knits summer knit along. So I'm quite chuffed with those. And that really is actually all I finished this week, which I don't think is too bad going, since it was only a week. And I had a bit of knitting time, but I've been doing other things as well, some of my work in progresses too. So I also, as I said earlier, because I work on Heidi's, one a day challenge, my work in progresses include the elephant and the stegosaurus. And I showed you the oranges I was working on for the stegosaurus last time. And the elephant, I think I'm now on 27 motifs. And the whole elephant is about 34, maybe 33. It's not that many. So I don't actually have that many more motifs to do. And then it's the artist's task of sewing it all up. And I know everybody keeps telling me, join as you go, join as you go. So I'm going to have to learn how to join as you go, because I'm sure it must save this sort of being left at the end with, a whole bag of little bits that you then have to sew up. And it actually takes an unbelievably long time to sew it all up. I don't mind really. And I've got until October to finish those two, because I'd like to send them with my dad and Caleb to England when they go in October. So I do have enough time, but I think it might be nicer to do a method that doesn't involve sewing up all the squares. I'm still a little bit intimidated about this join as you go, but I did promise Tess that I would go and I would check it out and I would try. So I will try, and so I will try that. But basically that's ongoing. Those are sort of work in progresses, and those are ongoing. Pegasus is sadly still ongoing too. I'm a bit intimidated by this wing crochet. I have done one, but it's not great. This flat crocheting, because I've mastered doing this little African flower, it really is all I can do. And I know they look lovely, but it's like 1,000% down to Heidi's patterns being amazing, rather than that I can crochet. And because I've now crocheted this one motif over and over and over and over, I'm fairly proficient at crocheting that. But seriously, that's all I can crochet. And so to try to crochet, flat and then go up, and then I'm just messing it up. I don't know why. I don't know. I need to commission somebody to make the wings for me, I think. And then I've got to do the tail and the mane and all the rest. But I need to see how much yarn the wings use up. And I've done the first one. I just do it, really. And then sew that all together. I'm going to stop being put off by it. Unfortunately, that's still a work in progress too. But let's move on to exciting works in progress. So I balled my yarn that I got in my swap that I showed you last time, which is the Heartland base, 80% superwash and 20% nylon, and it was in the Splendiferous colorway, which was so much fun. And so I'm doing Java Pearls pattern that she designed for the Indieborough yarn crawl. So it's supposed to look like the little cobblestones in the streets of Edinburgh, which I thought was very clever. Hopefully you can see that. And this is just the back, how the yarn's knitting up otherwise. All these oranges and pinks and reds. It's so much fun. So I really think this definitely qualifies as another summer theme that I can enter into the Geeky Girl Knit Summer knit along as well. So I'm chuffed with that. So I've just started. This one's obviously a toe up. And I started knitting on what I presumed was, I decided to go down a needle size, as I've talked about before. And I presumed I was knitting this on the 2.25 millimeter needle, because I was convinced I was using my 2 millimeter needle for my Hermione Everyday Socks, because the yarn is slightly thinner. And when I was knitting, this was so tight, like it was like really, really tight. And I was thinking, this is a big jump to be this tight if this is just a 2.25, because I normally knit on a 2.5. So I got my yarn, my needle gauge measurer thing out. And no, I was busy knitting these on the 2, and I must have done the Hermione Everyday Socks on the 2.25, which I'm sure will be fine. It's a little bit looser than I thought it was just because the yarn was a bit thinner. Anyway, so I have started these. Oh, what I wanted to tell you about this yarn was this is the yarn that Carle called her man sock range, because it had the nylon and the mohair in it, because it would be a bit stronger. She said it would make the perfect socks for men because they're a bit harder wearing on their socks. You see, now I think this might be why it isn't always as popular a brand, and it was mostly in male colors. So some of us can be a bit selfish in our knitting. And sure, now and again we want to buy sock yarn for our husbands and stuff, but we always want to buy sock yarn for us, really. I mean, the bottom line. And there are lots of you maybe are a lot less selfish knitting than me. And so I think because there weren't that many girly colors or different colors, that, or maybe the name, I don't know, it didn't ever sell as well as some of the other sock yarns. But this yarn needs to be rebranded awesome sock yarn, not man sock or anything like this. I have very cold feet. I feel the cold. I get cold quite quickly. And when I finished the one sock, I put on only one sock just to try it on. I left it on, and I had on my other foot just a normal hand knitted sock on the other side. And my feet are always slightly cold, even in hand knitted socks. And the one with this sock on it just slowly but surely got all warm and toasty. These are the warmest socks ever, but they're still thin enough and breathe and airy enough that it wouldn't make you uncomfortably warm. It just keeps the heat, or keeps a really nice temperature. That it is fantastic. I know I know she doesn't have a lot of it, and there was a bit of a supply issue. But when I told her about that, I told her she needs to see if she can get some more. So I know she's going to see if there's some more available from the factory. And then there possibly may be a return of the man sock range, hopefully with a rebranded name, because I don't know if the name puts people off or if they think it's not nice for ladies to knit with or something. But seriously, there is a little, I think I saw in Gina's Natural Yarns shop that there might have been 1 or 2 balls left, but I think it was sort of like brown. I think it might have been a brown and a neutral or something like that. So I would love some in pink. I want some really pink socks in this yarn, because this is like what I'm going to now call awesome sock yarn from now on. So it's got the nylon, it's got the mohair for extra strength and for extra warmth. These are just the bomb. That is my assessment of this sock yarn, that you all need to get some. As soon as Carla lets us know if she can get it, which hopefully she can, this yarn, the bomb. And it's going to be hard wearing, so like what a bonus. So that was, sorry, I forgot about that in the other section. So my little interlude back to awesome sock yarn. Right. Yeah, so I'm knitting the socks for the knit along at the moment. And then the other things that I'm working on, a bit boring actually, but I was doing some sock repairs. So I've got these socks, which are just some very simple socks. A friend of mine is dyes some yarn in just for fun. She never sells it actually. And I'll show you some other things I work on in yarn of hers. It's beautiful. I wish she would sell it. She's so talented. Her Ravelry name is Googs, and this was called Pinky and the Geek, which I thought was really nice. So there was some pink and some grey, and then it just sort of knitted up randomly into these two, which I really liked. But I think the lesson I learned with these, because I think these actually have nylon in it, the lesson I learned with these was I think that I wore them in my Docs. I've got some pink Doc Martens, and I think the back of the Doc Martens are actually very hard on socks. And so I wore a hole in the one heel. I'll put a picture in and show you. I took a picture for my Instagram before I started sock surgery yesterday. So because these were afterthought heels, I took both the heels out, and I actually did them with this man sock, this one that I just finished Hermione's everyday socks in. I actually did that with the yarn held double, and I redid the heel. But then I found that some of the stitches a little bit above the heel were also a little bit thin, you know, that sort of hard wearing patch there. So I actually redid the heel, and then I just in duplicate stitch or Swiss darning, whatever you call it, I just then went over this little patch here a little bit, and once it's in my shoe you're actually not going to see that. So this is my sock surgery. You can see I'm not finished this one yet. I just need to go down that side. So it's got a bit of a different heel now, but hopefully this one will be quite hard wearing. I didn't want to re-knit the whole sock, so really the rest of them are absolutely fine. And I'll just be more careful not to wear hand knits with my Docs. I mean, you can't really see them anyway, because when the Docs go sort of are like boots, so your socks are hidden inside. So it seems to be no reason, if you can't show off your pretty socks, to have them inside your Docs getting damaged. So that's the first pair that I did. And then I've got a couple more to do. I've got one for the Geek, which I'm sure I've shown you before, that's totally gone through the heel. There. So again, these are afterthought heels. I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to use the leftover yarn that and it was also in the man sock that I used when I tested Claire's sock pattern. That's going to be the Josie socks in the South African book that I'm doing. So I'm going to take this out, and again, I'm going to hold that double. And these are actually above the heel. These aren't bad at all. So these two I just need to re-heel. So that's what's going to happen to those ones. Those need re-healing. And then these socks were made for me and given to me in a pattern swap. We did a designer pattern swap where the motivation was to get you kind of designing within a time frame. And then you got a finished object designed by somebody else. And these are getting a little bit thin over here. But because this is not an afterthought heel, I'm just going to do what I did in the other ones and just do some duplicate stitch Swiss darning over these just to protect them, because I really love these. And these were designed by Jodel, I'm not sure how she actually pronounces it, Judy, who's a South African, and this was her first design sorry, they're a bit kind of worn, but she's got this zigzag pattern, and this was her. Now the name of the pattern's gone out of my head. I'll put it along the bottom, which up there really quite nice. It was something like summertime or spring. I think it might have been spring in this sort of spring color. I'll add it in. So these two are really nice. I love wearing them, and I love that they're socks that somebody else made me. And so I just want to just put some reinforcing on those heels. So I've got those two to do. And then these socks for the Geek, I already re-heeled. These were grey to start with. And I just see that these ones again are wearing a little bit thin just above the heel. So these ones need some duplicate stitch reinforcing as well, which is actually a pain because it takes quite long in and out each little stitch for that little patch. So that's what else I'm working on at the moment. It's a little bit boring, but at least that, you know, gives us each another 2 pairs of socks that are that have a bit more life in them then, really. So it'll extend it. And most of these are actually in sock yarn that didn't have nylon in, which is kind of why I'm going back to or making sure now that the socks I need to have nylon in, because it's a lot of effort to put in to have them wear out so quickly. Yeah, so that's what I'm fixing at the moment. But I suppose it'll take me less time to fix those, and I put a lot of effort into making them besides the ones that I got gifted. And yeah, I think I'd really like to sort of, you know, fix them up. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. The other thing that I'm going to be working on, so this is sort of plans and things kind of coming up that I'm working on. I mentioned the Baobab baby jersey or baby pullover, and this is the one in the children's sizes, the sizes going up after this. And I'm never sure how much to show of designs I'm working on. I know some people don't show anything of designs they're working on, and other people kind of say, well, you know, for someone to go and then work out the whole thing, or to steal an idea and work out the whole thing, it's quite a lot of effort. I don't know. And once a design is out, it doesn't mean that somebody's not going to take a part of it or use it for an idea or something like that. So I don't know. I know I do show some things. I know some people don't show things at all. I know on the designers group, the budding designers group, there's very mixed feelings. Some people that say yes, they do share what they're doing because it kind of creates interest in what they're doing. So I don't know. I quite like to share what I'm doing. And the books, I saw the first draft idea for the book layout. It looks really, really nice. I'm dead chuffed. So I'm working very hard to make sure that I get all the bits of the patterns through to Laura, who's Inkwell Designs, Inkwell Knits on Ravelry, to put it all together for me. And there's just so many little things that you don't think of, you know, so many little parts of things that you need to include, things different that go in a book that go in a standalone pattern, and yeah, just reading through everything and checking everything, and yeah, so it takes a lot longer than I kind of imagined. So how I got the incomparable buttons and how I got so many was I contacted her to say that I'd really like to include some buttons, because it had a little button closure on the shoulder, that I'd really like to include some of her buttons in the design. sadly that my email landed up in a spam folder, and then I sent her a PM on Ravelry, and fortunately she got that and then found the email in the end. But the baby cardigan, or the baby pullover that I'd made for my little niece had already gone to England before I managed to get some of her buttons. But for the ones that I'm doing now, for the toddler size, she sent some buttons in the whole set, and then I could choose whatever I wanted to use for the baobab cardigan sweater. And originally I thought I wanted to use owl buttons because the story with the baobab tree was that when I went to the north of South Africa, which is where the baobab trees grow, that we were sort of on a sort of a 4x4 trip, I suppose, and you go up to these baobab trees, and we then actually went further on to Botswana as well. And in the sort of middle of the tree trunk, and this is the crook of the branches, there was a nest of baby owlets, and so we got to see these tiny little baby owlets. Their mother must have been out hunting because she wasn't there at the time. There's a nest of these tiny little baby owlets looking up. So the design in the tree actually has some little owls sitting on the tree as part of the design. So I had thought that I'd maybe wanted the owl buttons to go on the jersey. But I think actually the owl buttons, when I looked at it, if I put them on the top, I think it might detract from the owls that are actually on part of the pullover. So I stumbled over the words because in South Africa we use the word jersey, which is a pullover or a sweater or something like that. Whereas this is not a commonly used word anywhere else. I think it's kind of like maybe a football jersey or rugby jersey, but it doesn't. For us, a jersey is a knitted sweater. And then a cardigan is a button-down one. And so I know that it's not the words that are used overseas, so I always try to, as I'm speaking, think of the right words to use, which makes me think of our conversation about accents. We had a bit of a conversation about my accent on the Ravelry group. And of course, being from South Africa, people knew I was going to have an accent, but hearing it is sometimes quite different. And I think what we sometimes forget from South Africa is that we hear accents from especially America and England all the time on the television, because most of our television that we watch is series and movies and things that come from those two countries predominantly. And I've lived in England as well, so of course I've heard accents from all over. But I think the South African accent is a little more uncommon, really. I suppose unless people have watched a specific South African movie or program or met a South African somewhere, you may not have had that much contact with our accent. I don't know how typical my South African accent is. My grandmother is British, and so I was always taught to speak very properly. We had to speak, we had to speak really well. And my mother's got a master's degree in English, and things needed to be pronounced well and all of these. So I don't know. There are different South African accents. Certainly, if you have a more Afrikaans background, you would have a very different accent, whereas my family is English. So yeah, there are different accents. And so it got me thinking, and we were sort of chatting a bit on the group about it, about whether people would like to hear the geek speaking Afrikaans. I'm trying to convince him that this might be a good idea, because I'm wondering how many people have actually heard Afrikaans, so that there may be people that have never really heard what Afrikaans sounds like. So think about that and let me know if you'd like to hear, if I can twist his rubber arm, if I can convince him to come and speak Afrikaans on the podcast one day, then maybe you'll hear something totally different, something a little bit unique from South Africa. I don't quite know how I got onto that from buttons, but that's my rambling mind for you. So anyway, then I thought that maybe I should actually do these blue buttons rather than the owls, because I said I've got this little button band that folds over the top. So I thought actually maybe these little blue buttons would look quite nice. It looks quite natural against it. And I think it wouldn't detract from the owls on the front to have owls on the shoulder as well. So I think that's actually what I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to use these little blue buttons on this. So basically what has to happen to this is I need to rip it back, because I need to make the base of the tree longer, like I said before, because the tree's got to extend a bit further. So that's on, I know I said I was going to do that this week, I was going to start that, but I was really trying to finish those Hermione everyday socks so that I could start my knit along socks, and now I kind of feel I can do those at a slightly slower pace. So I'm going to rip this back. So I've got to rip it back almost down to here. And then work on that. So that's kind of in the planning for this coming week or weeks, as the case may be, because a tree cable takes quite a long time to do. It's not difficult, and because it's a cable in the front, I then did the reverse stocking stitch, so the tree stands out in the front, and I did reverse stocking stitch on the back of mine as well. Whereas the pattern says that you could also do your back in stocking stitch if you wanted to, just to make the back quicker, and the sleeves you could also do in stocking stitch if you wanted to. I'm keeping mine in reverse stocking stitch the whole way, so it's slightly slow in it. I do find that when I'm purling in the round, it does take me a little bit longer. It's not quite as totally unconscious as when you're knitting. When I'm knitting garter stitch or knit stitch, I can just kind of go quite a bit quicker than purl. Anyway, so the baobab is in the planning. And then, like I said, I won the yarn from Carla from Heidi Bear's modular thing, and the yarn is from Carla at Nurturing Fibers. So I am thinking of, like, if you've listened before, you know I'm having a little thing about orange at the moment. I am thinking of making an orange lash cardigan. Now this is Claire Divine and Shiny Bee's fault, actually, because I said to Claire when I won the prize that I thought that I wanted to, see, I wanted it a grey sweater as well. I really wanted it a grey, really functional, easy staple wardrobe piece. But I don't want it sounds so ridiculous. I don't want to knit a grey sweater with my prize money yarn. I want to knit an orange sweater. So I'm actually thinking of Carla's tangerine colour and to knit the Lush cardigan. Now, Shiny Bee's podcast, Shiny Bee's is British, and she lived in South Africa for a while, which I had the privilege of meeting her before she moved back to England. And so she did a podcast around things about South Africa when she was here, and now, of course, it's a lot more to do with the UK. And she, along with a group of other people in the UK, are doing a Lush knit along, but they are doing it on the British Yarns group. And I'll link all of this in the show notes. Just sort of promote amongst the listeners and the people in England, obviously using local yarn in England, which is great. I always think it's great to support local industry, which is what I try to do with a lot of my yarns and buttons and various things from local places. So they're doing this knit along, and I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be allowed to enter my the cardigan that I knit, because I'm going to be knitting in South African yarn, obviously, but I'm going to ask Jo. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if I can't enter it in there, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to knit it anyway, because it's always fun to knit along with other people knitting. I think Claire's knitting one and Jo, and so I'm going to knit an orange lashed cardigan with my prize yarn, which I'm quite excited about. I think that'll be really fun. So I obviously don't have that yet, and that's sort of still in the planning stages. It's going to, come up later. And then I think the next thing I really do need to knit is that tiny puppy, and a little, I mean, it really is like this big. I don't think it's going to take me that long. I think he needs another little sweater to keep him warm. Of course, he does shiver like anything when he gets cold. So I think that's going to have to be on the needles pretty soon as well, sort of in my planning for stuff. So I think Jo, the suggestion of a pattern pick for your Shiny Bees podcast. Jo has a pattern pick section in which she has a theme, and then she picks the most outrageous patterns to go. And the last one on her most recent podcast was all about octopus, and she came up with just the most hilarious octopus based patterns. It's well worth a giggle, and go check out Jo's podcast for that. So I think Rachel definitely needs a pattern pick for dog sweaters. There are some very sad looking dogs in all sorts of things, but this thing is so tiny. I'm going to have to find like a miniature size or teacup size, because he'll grow a bit bigger, but being a puppy at the moment and being of a small breed, because it was a Yorkshire Terrier and a miniature Dachshund, so I mean he's not going to get very big. He's longish, he's got the longer body, but I'm going to have to knit a very small little thing for him. I don't think it'll take me very long, so that's coming up in my knitting shortly. So thank you so much for joining me again this week. It's been really fun to tell you all the things that I've been doing and planning, a few things that I've finished and etc. So please come and join the Pink Hair Girl group and come and have fun on the sock knit along. Even if you've never knit socks before, come and join us because there's lots of support for people knitting socks for the first time, pattern ideas, and really no question is a stupid question when you're doing socks for the first time. Please put all your questions in. We are really there to help and to answer, and I'm by no means a sock expert, but we've got quite a few, not only sock experts, but sock designers on joining in on the knit along. So please come and join us, and it will be great fun to see all the finished objects as they start appearing. So I hope you have a wonderful week. If you're in South Africa, keep warm. If you're overseas, I hope you're enjoying the summer, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.